What up, Gotham Guardians and Arkham Adversaries? It's your boy Trey of the Bat Channel. The latest edition of the MonsterVerse franchise is here with the new Netflix series titled Skull Island. Man, I binged this series all in one night, and I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting something, I don't know, kid-friendly, not because it was an animated show, but just I wasn't expecting much. The trailers didn't quite do this show justice. And I gotta say, the animation was so cool. Powerhouse Animation Studios really did a great job, especially when it comes to this three-dimensional motion with their animation. Like, especially during these action sequences, you felt like you were there and it was different than what you've seen before. It really kind of reminded me of Young Justice in a way of how they did their artwork. I really did enjoy the story throughout this 8-episode series. They did a fantastic job in the first episode building this suspense, this mystery that really hooks you in. I felt, especially in the first episode, you're thrown right into the middle of what's going on, this conflict that's happening between these people that eventually get shipwrecked on Skull Island. The creature this kaiju that attacks them, this kraken-like creature, man, they did a wonderful job building this adversary up for Kong all the way until the very end. Seriously, and Kong is not really in this. He doesn't even appear in the first episode, but he really is like a cameo throughout the rest of the series until like episode 7 and 8, where, you know, he finally has this big battle, and they did a wonderful job with Kong and just making him a very emotional character. When Kong's presence there, now, Kong's a badass, right? Like, we all know that. And my guess is, based off his size and how he just compares to all the other kaijus and creatures on Skull Island, that this must be probably in the timeline of the MonsterVerse, somewhere in the 90s. I don't think it's definitely after the events of 1973 where Kong Skull Island takes place. And it's definitely before the return of Godzilla in the 2014. But I really liked what they did with Kong in terms of his story. It almost would have made more sense if this show came out before Godzilla vs. Kong, because they gave Kong a bit of backstory that applies to his story and would have greatly benefited his overall character arc in that film of Godzilla vs. Kong. The tragedies that he has gone throughout his life, with losing his parents to the skull crawlers. Now there's this kaiju that's just a big, bad, mean kaiju that it keeps taunting him and, you know, destroying his island and the things he cares about, like really just egging him on. At some point they have to come at odds, you know. And I just loved how they handled that throughout. That I think it would have made more sense with Kong goes into Hollow Earth and he finds his species kingdom and there's no one there, there's no family there, at least until we find out what happens with Godzilla x Kong, to have him get there and there's nothing. You felt bad for him then, but you're gonna feel worse after seeing this, because you realize how much he has lost and how alone he must feel. In terms of the human characters in this, there were some that were really great. The one that really pops out to me is this Annie character. She's basically this little girl that survived, that was shipwrecked on this other island near Skull Island, and there was creatures there. She learned how to survive, and she's a bit of a badass, a little OP'd, you know. She's just like, whatever comes her way, she just takes on, and she kind of is the immaturity of someone who didn't go through school because she was all alone on this island, just had this dog creature that she befriended. You know, they take care of each other. This conflict that she goes in through her story arc, the background that you get of her origins and how she got shipwrecked, is all very satisfying in terms of a story arc. So I really enjoyed her character. Irene was a cool character. Cap was enjoyable. So was Mike. I really enjoyed Mike too. They had some very comedic moments and some great banter between people like Mike and Charlie and Annie. The only part where I would say it kind of lacked a little bit for me and got a little over the top was the character Charlie. He is a bit I'm just gonna say he's a bit annoying throughout this series. He didn't really have a character arc that worked for me, or just was not excited anytime he popped up on screen. Maybe that will change when they get hopefully a new season, because if there's one major complaint other than the character Charlie, the one major complaint I would say with the show is the very ending. It's a cliffhanger. They tell you basically nothing of a resolution of where people are at, all the characters that went through all this craziness, this insane adventure and surviving Skull Island. They basically just leave you in the unknown. And that drove me nuts that if we don't get a season 2, I'm gonna riot. Because I would really love to see where they go from here. Hopefully it does well enough on Netflix, and I think it should, because it is pleasantly good. Like I said, the action sequence, especially in the last few episodes, is awesome. They get the wonder and the mystery of Skull Island with all the different creatures. It's some of it beautiful and majestic, and others terrifying and thrilling, which great job. I really enjoyed the show. I highly recommend that anyone who's interested in kaijus, the MonsterVerse, this is not a show to just kind of kick off to the side and not worry about. Like, yes, it doesn't really hold any major importance to the greater cinematic MonsterVerse lore, but if you want more of this world, this story, this world building that they're getting with the MonsterVerse, with obviously a new Apple TV series that's about to come out, I'm all about that. I hope they continue to create different series, maybe different kaijus, give them their own shows like Mothra. Rodan would be even cool. Something like that would be extremely awesome, but I can't wait for the new Gamera show that's going to be coming out a little later. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this show. I highly recommend it. Probably if I had to give the entire season a score, I'm thinking like an 8.3 out of 10. I think it was done really, really well, and I highly recommend you check it out. But let me know in the comments what you think if you have seen it. I'd love to hear from you guys. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash that like, share this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Trey, and don't forget to tune in weekly. Same bat time, same bat channel.